I feel like my whole life I've been half-assing everything. Whether it's with school, college, work, I feel like I've never really put 100% into something. And um, I wanted to be able to build self-esteem around discipline and trusting myself, being reliable to myself. And that's what discipline means to me, is you are reliable to yourself. You know, we expect other people to be reliable to us, and we're disappointed when somebody flakes out or doesn't show up. But how often do we show up for ourselves, right? And I was tired of that. I was tired of not showing up for myself and telling myself that I'm going to do these things, and I don't hold myself accountable to it.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to Moments of Aha. We're so happy that you're here. Please subscribe and let us know what you're working on and how we can serve you better. Today, we have a beautiful guest, great friend of mine. I'll introduce her in just a moment. But first, we want you to understand that nobody is coming to save you. Good news is that we believe that everything that you're looking for is already inside of you, that you are the hero of your own life. And that hero exists inside of you. It's your inner hero. So we bring on guests who have developed these internal qualities and traits that we're all born with, but they've practiced them and developed them to the point where they've become superpowers to align with their inner hero. So today's everyday hero is someone who questions the grain, sees the details of life, and is loyal to the friends and family around her. She is an entrepreneur that has been successful in e-commerce, a freelancer as a website designer. She creates promo videos for businesses and also just started her very own podcast, which she is absolutely amazing at, as she knows how to ask the right questions about life and what it takes to grow. We have developed a close relationship since the quarantine of COVID first started, focusing around vulnerability and growth with a group of individuals that are like-minded. This kind soul is without a doubt one badass, conscious woman. From Seattle, Washington, my friend, Mai Nguyen. What's up, Mai?
What is up, Jonathan?
How you doing?
I'm good.
Good.
Pretty glad to be on here.
Yeah, super
Pretty
happy.
epic.
What's that?
I said that was pretty epic.
Yeah, awesome.
You've earned some brownie points with me with that one.
I could take all the brownie points I can use with you. So you've been a huge influence in my life, developed my website for myself, my intro videos, and also just keep pushing my mindset and the way that I look at life to grow into different areas. So super grateful for you. And I love the relationship that we've built in the last, really this year, how we met. We went to go see a mutual influencer, Tom Bilyeu, in Phoenix. And we did an ice bath with a Wim Hof instructor, saw Tom Bilyeu, met some amazing people from all around the country and Canada, and even saw the Grand Canyon together. So that was the birth of our relationship, which is really cool.
Yeah, that was an amazing journey for sure, and I feel like it sparked so much for every one of us. And you have definitely become one of my favorite humans for sure. Yeah, just don't tell the rest of the group, I guess.
Yeah, no, definitely not. But I will not be editing that part out because they also need to know that. So I'm just kidding. But super grateful for you. Glad that you're here. First question that I want to jump into is this is called Moments of Aha. And it's all about that moment of awakening or the epiphany that you had where you're living one way, this moment of aha arose, and all of a sudden you started living a different way. And sometimes that's just a brief moment, that just one experience in your life shifted that perspective or lenses about life, or it could be a process of multiple moments as well. So I'm just curious, what were your moments of aha like?
uh, it definitely was a process for me. I thought I was a quick learner, but definitely with some things, it takes a while of repetition for me to realize like um, this is definitely a learning experience I need to take something away from. And I would say, and not to jump like so serious into this, but my moment was I I would say most of my 20s, I was surrounded by drugs, alcohol, um, guns, gambling. It was a different part of my life where I never exposed to anybody. And to this point, I would say only one person that I've really told about where I was sort of living a double life. Like, in the during the day, I would go to my 9 to 5 corporate job. Everything looked normal. At least I looked like I was successful working downtown Seattle and everything. But the later part of the day, I would come home and it would, yeah, be drugs, guns, gambling. It was such a drastic life that was so different that I never revealed to anybody. And I was sucked into this and not knowing how to get out, right? And time again, over the course of 8 years in this relationship, I would keep hoping that something would happen, something drastic would happen. And drastic things kept happening, right? Things involving the police, things involving really serious stuff. And there was a moment of relief every time something happened because I was like, finally, my life's going to change because this is so drastic. I'm finally going to do something about it, right? Or something outside of me is going to make me do something about it. But it was really unfortunate how delusional I was that um, everything was my decision. And when time after time, big things started happening, um, and I found myself in situations I never thought would happen, and I get that sense of relief. Okay, finally, it's happening. My life's going to change, and then it doesn't. The next day, I go back to the same thing. I go back to the same people, the same environments, and so it was. I would say the moment that I realized like things are not going to change for me. Like more and more drastic things are happening, but I just get sucked back in again. And that was when I realized like nobody's gonna save me. I've been waiting for somebody to save me, something external to happen, to push myself out of this, right? And yeah, it was that realization that only I can make the choice to get out of it. And eventually that did happen, but it took a very long process, I would say. So I would say like a lot of moments of aha over time. And with the help of surrounding myself finally with the right type of people.
Yeah, that is amazing. And I think a lot of people out there can really relate to that. And even myself included. I grew up on the east side of Las Vegas, and, I would say that it wasn't the best side of town to grow up on. And I even grew up in probably a worse part of town up until I was 7 years old and went to the east side, which was nice for my family. And it was, and then it gradually got worse. And just, I've been part of a lot of situations where it was not ideal, and I got myself into these situations where there are big huge fights and rumbles, and a best friend pulled a gun out in front of someone just right in front of me, and I was in between the gun and the other person, trying to stop this situation, and getting into drugs and alcohol and all of these things. And a lot of individuals are still in that space, and just like what you said, like, get caught up in the routine of it, of this is what I know, maybe I don't deserve anything more than this. There is no other possibilities because my mind only knows what it knows. So what specifically kind of shifted to where it's just like, all right, this is it, I'm making a difference? Is it through having trying to develop a new routine and failing over and over again, but keep persisting? Was it just knowing that you're meant to do something better than where you were at? Was there a specific situation where I was just like, all right, this is it? Like, what specifically shifted? Because again, a lot of people can relate and keep falling back in those same routines and same destructive life patterns, or group of individuals that aren't letting them kind of grow in a sense. And it sounds like you took a lot of ownership for that, but what else was that, would you say?
I would say the biggest difference for me was being around you guys. Um, and you can say like that it's been fairly recent, it's only this past year. It and I realized it's so important the people you surround yourself with. I was surrounded by, I wouldn't say shitty people. I don't think anybody's really shitty at the core of it. They were just going through shitty times. And so they would do not great things, even between friends, right? And there wasn't a lot of character in any of those people that I was around. But after having found our group and being close to, especially some of the people in our group, I feel like that has been the biggest influence for me because I wasn't just going from trying to escape the situation, right? It was also, there was something pulling me towards a better situation. So, running from, when you're at a desperate state, when you're trying to run from where you're at, sure, you can find motivation in that, you can find drive in that. But for me, it really helped to find inspiration to move towards something. And you guys really helped me find that. And there were, a particular few that I talked about my situation with, and it helped me to be accountable to them, and wanting to be consistent with the things I say. And yeah, over time, that definitely really helped.
Mm. Yeah, I love that. And actually, one of the superpowers I have for you is co-creating. And reason being is that you're such a core part of the group that we're with, that we spend, at least 4 hours a week together for the last 9 months. At one point, it was like 12 hours a week, just every day we were spending together at 5 a.m. in the morning. But you're such a core part and so consistent in it the whole entire time. And we've worked on projects together, and you're able to put my vision into reality, right? I'm just giving you things out of my head, and you're able to make it physical where I'm able to see it. And the visual aspects of the videos that you create, the promo videos that you create, is so amazing. And you're really great with people skills. So with that, building a community or finding those people for someone out there that feels kind of stuck, and that they have had the same friends, and don't want to get rid of their friends because they're loyal. And that's something that I admire in you as well. You're extremely loyal to your friends and family. How do they begin to find those new 5 people? How do they get out of their comfort zone to do that?
The first thing I could think of is really being authentic to not just yourself, but to other people, right? And people are drawn to people like them. So if, you know, and especially with personal development, there's such a stigma of this kind of corny, weird side where, and I fell into this too, where I didn't know what it meant, like self-help, personal development. I thought it was like people with issues, they are probably kind of weird and crazy, and so they need some kind of help, right? Not really knowing that everybody needs some sort of personal development. And when I was able to be more open about that, like, hey, I'm working on these things about myself, um, putting myself in communities or situations, whether it's Toastmasters, whether it's, going to that event with you guys, you meet like-minded people, right? And so I would say, yeah, the most important thing is to show up authentically as yourself, and you will draw people who are, going towards the same vision, same goals, have the same kind of mindset.
Mm. That is amazing. I believe authenticity and transparency with yourself is so important. And I found in my life, sometimes I don't realize that I'm not being authentic with myself, that I'm actually telling lies to myself, to convince myself that the life that I'm living is great. Or, I am a positive person. I've always been a positive person, but I also step into this space of false optimism where I'd rather say affirmations to myself and say all these positive things and act like I'm happy when I'm really not, because I'm not being honest with myself, or authentic with myself. Have you always been authentic with yourself in that way, or what? How does one develop authenticity with seeing the destructive things in their life that aren't moving them forward, or that line of wanting to be positive, and where does that awareness come from?
Yeah, I definitely haven't been authentic with myself or others for that matter, for quite a while. And, I was talking about in my 20s going through sort of this double life that I was sucked into. And I never revealed it, not much of it, to even my closest friends, right? And especially not the extent of it. So, of course, I was not authentic with other people. And yet it's not like I was being fake with people. It's just I would keep things to myself. And people had this certain image of me at work, right? And I wanted to maintain that, like the nice girl who would like follow the rules and was a hard worker and all that. And while all that was true, there was this whole other side of me that nobody knew about. And also with myself, being delusional about where I was at, pretty much to a certain extent, in the relationship I was in, around the people I was around, um, holding on to this false sense of optimism. And there's a difference between being optimistic and really kind of true to yourself, but while hoping for the best, I guess. And I held on to these ideas, these memories of these good things, uh, with this one person, and hoping that it would always come back to that. Like things will eventually become okay again. I've heard the quote like, um, it's going to be okay in the end. If it's not okay, it's not the end, right? And I just kept repeating that in my head. Okay, it's not the end. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Not realizing that I needed to be the one that made things okay for me and not necessarily for other people. And I kept holding on to the idea that I could help fix other people and fix situations for other people. That was probably the most false sense of self that I had, this inauthentic part of me where I was trying to convince myself of something that wasn't there. Um, So building authenticity over time, just realizing that you're bullshitting yourself and what is on the other side of that bullshit. And kind of revealing that even though it sucks to know that I'm at fault for everything that happens to me. And, it's so easy to blame others in situations. Because you don't have to deal with yourself. You don't have to deal with your own issues. And I feel like I focused on fixing other people because that meant that I didn't have to fix myself. That there wasn't something wrong with me, right? It's them that's causing everything. So that realization was when I tried to be more authentic because I can't get out of where I was at if I wasn't authentic with myself eventually. Um, and I would also say, like, beyond everything that happened in my 20s, just just dealing with social anxiety, period. I was definitely showing up very inauthentically, trying to pretend to be somebody or have this certain personality that's likable, right? And the more that I was able to let that go and be more myself around people, I realized that people actually liked me for who I am, and not having this facade of like, I'm sociable, I like you, I'm interested in what you're doing, and just being like, just letting it go and just truly trying to, not try to, because that's sort of ironic. Yeah, not being tied to the outcome of are they going to like me or are they not? I don't know, but I know for a fact as long as I'm myself and I'm a pretty decent person, um, I can have pretty good conversations and people do like me, right? And in that way, I feel like I've been able to be more authentic as well.
Mm. I love that more than you even know. And it just resonates really deep with me of just the cycles that I've gone through. And, especially working in the service industry. So for people out there that don't know that, you used to be a dealer and a pit boss at a casino. And so when you're in the service industry, you do put on this mask and this facade that everything's good and you're on stage and you're able to act. And what I realized in that is that we're individuals like that. We're also really good at acting in other areas of our life as well and putting on that mask. And it sounds like you just finally took off that mask of delusion, basically, and you were just real with yourself. And your self talk sounds like really developed over time to get you into the space that you're in right now. And the last thing that I hear in that as well, which was huge for me and still is to this day. And this is kind of where a Heroes Academy is so important to me in the sense of nobody is coming to save you. You are the hero of your own life. And that wasn't necessarily for me to be like someone's coming to save me. That wasn't even the where that came from. It was to remind myself constantly that I'm not here to save anybody else, because that's the mission that I was on. I wanted to help other people, and so by doing that, I actually was ignoring parts of myself, just like what you were saying. And it wasn't until, or is not even in this moment right now, letting that go and really focusing on what Jonathon can do in feeling his emotions, being self-aware of, not being delusional and actually being present in what are my results and what are my weaknesses and what am I ignoring in my life and all of these things, because I have to save myself, and that's the only way that my cup's going to be full. And so I really love that, and I think that there's going to be a lot of people that really resonate with, what you said and all of that.
Yeah, I think the the thing with authenticity though that I realized is I feel like it's a constant journey because how do you really know when you're authentic with yourself? How do you know that you're not still holding on to these delusions of yourself, right? And I can say this is probably this year, I've probably been the most authentic to others and myself as I've been. But who knows? We're always uncovering layers of ourselves and trying to understand more about ourselves. So, um, at least I know for a fact at this moment, I feel like it feels authentic. But who knows? Maybe my year from now would be like, hey, you're bullshitting yourself. And that's why we're on this constant journey of kind of self discovery and growth.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that so much. And that's why, you always ask great questions. What if right now I'm actually just bullshitting myself? And I think that that's so valid. But at the same time, like, I love the concept that I've never felt more like myself than I do right now. Right. And I've always thought that's so interesting because it's just like, well, if you've never felt this close to yourself, how do you like, where did that come from then? Why does it feel so like aligned and centered? And I think that right now it might be the most authentic that you've ever been, and because you've stretched yourself into this space. And a year from now, you won't feel like your authentic self because you might be trying to be this version of yourself of today rather than the one that is from a year from now. So I think that, like, in a sense, when we stretch ourselves, there's always a growing authenticity that's evolving, that it's
Mhm.
not supposed to be the same authenticity that you were yesterday. So,
Yeah.
I think that that's just a realization that I feel, with what you said, that I resonate
Yeah, that's a great point. And you always have a way of putting things together in a way that makes sense.
with. Thank you. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, I have to. That's the way that I implement it in my life, or I'm going to digest it in a way. But I really love to shift directions into travel. I know that traveling has been something that's really life changing in your life. Another one of those kind of moments of aha, where you've had these transformational moments, traveling in different areas of the world and seeing third world countries. Tell me a little bit about the importance of traveling for yourself and what that's done for your life.
Yeah. One of my ex-boyfriends uh, constantly reminded me that just because you think something is one way doesn't mean it's true. And that's what I realized, like, with traveling, the biggest thing about traveling is it exposes you to so many different types of ways of living, types of people, different ideas. And I think exposure is the biggest learning experience you can have. And not just with interacting with different people and how they live their lives, but putting yourself in situations that can be hard and that you have to maneuver around. Because traveling is fun, and if you stay at a resort and everything, but if you're talking about traveling in a sense of backpacking or just going to random places without a plan, um, you run into a lot of issues and you get tested on a lot of things, especially when you're not familiar with the territory or the culture or the people. One time I thought I was getting kidnapped and I had no idea, like, I would run into that. But yeah, you don't really know yourself until you get tested in those situations. I feel like I learned not only a lot about the world and how other people think, but also how I show up for myself in certain situations.
Mhm. Yeah, so valuable. And I couldn't agree with you more. Just, there's a lot of individuals that are like, when you travel, they'll see the traveling and they'll be like, oh, it must be nice. I wish I can do that. But what they also don't understand for someone that hasn't traveled, that it's not necessarily vacation. There's a lot of work in traveling. There's a lot of scary fucking moments of being vulnerable, that it's a culture shock. You're out of your comfort zone. You don't know where you're going. You don't know the layout of it. You transit is completely different. And sometimes there's a language barrier and all of these different things that show up. And it's just, what do you do in those situations? And you have to step up to it, or what else are you going to do? You're in a foreign country. And so like the work that goes into it, it's almost like, though, for me, it's a mirror of what everyday life could be if we decided to travel outside of our comfort zone and stretch ourselves in those situations where it is really fucking scary and we don't know what to do. And we got ourselves in this situation where I got in this taxi cab, but I don't even know if this is a taxi cab. And I'm going down these streets in the middle of the night in a foreign country. I don't know where they're taking me. And oh, thank God I'm at the fucking hotel. I wasn't sure because this didn't seem like the right way, right? And like situations like that. And I just love the mirror of life of what it can teach you.
Yeah, yeah, definitely all of that for sure. A lot of good memories with traveling.
Oh, yeah.
And I know that, yeah, it can be hard and strenuous, but one thing I really love is learning how to adapt. And I don't really prepare for any trips anymore. I just book a ticket, and sometimes I book accommodation, and then figure it out from there, see what I want to do. But traveling is the best way, I feel like, that I found for myself to learn how to adapt to situations.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. And I guess I would also say it's a very great metaphor or mirror of enjoying the journey, right? It's because the thing about traveling is that, yeah, you're in the destination for this brief amount of time, but a lot of the time you're actually traveling to it, the journey to the destination. And some people hate standing in line at airports, and they hate the transit aspect of it. They hate the moving the luggage around. But if you understand that that's actually part of the whole traveling experience, and that the journey is part of the destination, part of the whole experience of the whole. I think it's also a great metaphor for a life of, we want to have big goals. We want to have the destination in our mind, but most of the time it's the journey to the destination that actually takes up more space, more time. And if we decide how we want to adapt to that space, then we're able to really enjoy that process a lot more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you just got into running just literally a few months ago,
Yeah.
and it's been really inspiring. You've been doing it every day. You went from a space of not being able to wake up and exercise for 5 minutes to a point where this last week you ran a marathon, not for an organized marathon, you did it by yourself because it's something that you wanted to accomplish for yourself, which takes so much self-discipline and drive to be able to do that. And drive is actually one of the superpowers that I have picked out for you, which one of my definitions is perseverance plus resilience equals drive. And so in that, how did you develop this drive from, again, not being able to work out for 5 minutes, super resistant towards it, to in just a few months, fucking doing a full marathon on your own? How'd you do
Yeah.
that?
It's funny because, like, it depends on how you view it, right? Like, I've been told that I had perseverance, and I was thinking, do I really have perseverance or am I just stubborn? And I viewed it as stubbornness. Like, when I try to learn something, I want to really get there. So this running journey, it wasn't easy. I would say it's been quite a while since I've started to try to get myself to jog. And it was inspired by people around me. Just the beginning of this year, somebody that I viewed as a mentor, he turned his life around. He had diabetes, he was overweight, and he started doing these things for himself, running or biking consistently over time. And I wanted to have that, right? Even though I've never been overweight, I've never had health issues, but I knew the benefits of jogging, and I knew that the process of getting myself to be a runner would help me build discipline as well. But for the longest time, I couldn't get myself to do it. And like you said, I try to wake up early, just a mere 5 minutes of exercise that my friend suggested. I had such a hard time. And it's crazy that recently she reminded me that it was only August that I was complaining, and I was probably complaining every day, like I can't get myself to get up to go, even walk. Um, but I reached a point where I realized that I feel like my whole life I've been half-assing everything. Whether it's with school, college, work, I feel like I've never really put 100% into something. And um, I wanted to be able to build self esteem around discipline and trusting myself, being reliable to myself. And that's what discipline means to me, is you are reliable to yourself. We expect other people to be reliable to us, and we're disappointed when somebody flakes out or doesn't show up. But how often do we show up for ourselves, right? And I was tired of that. I was tired of not showing up for myself and telling myself that I'm going to do these things, and I don't hold myself accountable to it. I'm great with that for other people. And so after that realization, I was like, F it. I'm going to try this thing. And it's not going to be 5 minutes. I'm going to start with a mile. And in 20 days, I'm going to have run or walked 110 miles, right? And every other day, I would increase it by a mile. So by the 20th day, it was 10 miles that I had to get to. And that was last month that I did the 20 days. And it was really satisfactory, not just that I completed it, but I found a way to enjoy the whole process. And I think that's the biggest difference with trying to make a habit sustainable. You have to find some kind of enjoyment through it. And um, I would say maybe a week and a half ago, I was doing 13. I was like, might as well go for half a marathon. And during that time, I was like, F it, next week, I'm going to do 26. Um, I'm sure it's entirely possible. It's just mental. It's all a mental game, right? And if I could find a way to enjoy 13, I could probably find a way to enjoy 26. And so just within making that decision, and decision making is so important, I had no doubt that I was going to do it. And I really can say with 100% truth that I enjoyed every minute of it, which blows my mind because I was miserable walking 5 minutes, in August.
Wow, that is fucking amazing. It's we all want to like be like, oh yeah, I want to do this big goal over here. And it's hard to take the steps in getting into that space when we think it's daunting and we think that it's really hard, rather than taking the baby steps and starting small and finding out how do you enjoy the small steps first,
Mhm.
and then build that bandwidth to get to the point of running a full fucking marathon. And so I'm curious, what are you doing while you're running that is making you enjoy it? What are you thinking, or what are you listening to, or what makes you enjoy running so much now?
There's so many things to it. And when I was first starting my 20-day challenge, I asked my brother, because he did it himself within 10 days. He was just jogging a couple miles a day. And then one day he was just like, I'm going to do a marathon. And he did 26 straight. Um, and I was like, I'm thinking about doing that too. And he was like, yeah, sure, go ahead. It's easy. And that sort of indifferent attitude was really fascinating to me, because I was like, in my head, I was like, well, F you, it's probably going to be really hard. Um, but he explained to me that he found a way to really have fun with it. And for me, the first week kind of sucked. I would say the first 3 or 4 days, I still had that thought of like, this sucks. Why am I doing this? Um, But what I realized was it only sucks for the first 10% of it. And whether it's the runner's high or the feeling of accomplishment, the dopamine rush from that, or pairing it with something that I really enjoyed, which is listening to podcasts or motivational videos or whatever it is. Um, so when I was trying to go from 1 mile to 10 miles, I would make myself push through the first 10% at least. Like, try to the best of my ability to do the best I can with time wise. So for example, 10 miles, right? The first mile I would always run. Um, and then after that, the runner's high kicks in, and the feeling of accomplishment doing something hard kicks in. And I allow myself to, whether run or walk, it doesn't matter. And I think that's what makes it fun. When you don't make it such a thing that you have to meet these metrics, because you have to think about, like, what is the reason I started this to begin with? It's not to be the fastest, or like, I didn't care about the destination. And that's what you were talking about. I didn't care about the 10 miles, that number, right? Not as much as being able to really enjoy that moment. And so I would do things like, when it would get hard, I would do things like high five trees or kick a bush, or like even have secret races with other runners, and pretend that I'm trying to race them. You know how, like, when you're driving in a car and then somebody goes by really fast and then you just want to race them? It's the same thing what I found for myself to have fun when I was jogging. So yeah, it's so important to take a moment to think about why you're doing what you're doing. And if the bulk of it is the process, the journey, then why are you not enjoying it? There's no point in doing it. There's no point in me trying to get 26 miles. Like, yeah, it feels good to have that on my resume or whatever it is, but it feels a lot better to enjoy that process of it.
Hmm. I love that. And you have inspired me, and I will be saying it out loud right now. Um, I'm not going to do 26 miles, but we have Red Rock National Park just right by my house, and there is a loop that is 13 miles. And I've always thought it'd be really cool to run that. I see runners on it, bicyclists on it, and before the end of the year, I will be jogging that loop. And because you have inspired me, so I appreciate.
Awesome. I'm gonna hold you to it though.
Yeah, please do. I mean, I know you will. So, I always had that kind of perspective in running of like, what's the point of this? I don't get it. I don't like it. I played sports my whole life. And only recently I've actually enjoyed the process of running a little bit more. And even just working out in general, I love the mental energy that it's provided for me. But I also had the same perspective about hiking for so long. And I mean, most people out there, yourself, knows that I love hiking. I love being in nature, but I wasn't always like that. I actually fucking despised hiking. I didn't like nature. Something shifted inside of me years ago. But it was because I was getting to this destination. I'm just like, I don't understand the point of this. Why do people like this when this destination looks just like everything else? And then when my life shifted, I realized the destination looks just like everything else. And then all of a sudden, it's just like, well, why am I not enjoying everything all along the way? And then the destination is just a bonus. And so, I just really I love that perspective. And like I said, you've inspired me to jump into that myself.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'm glad.
So also, I want to piggyback on this same conversation. Um, all of this was triggered after a psilocybin experience with one of our close friends. So I'm curious, and I'm not saying that that was the reason, but I'm curious the influence of that psilocybin experience had on this running journey that you jumped into.
Yeah, I'm still trying to really figure that part out, I guess, because I can't really determine if it was that experience that changed my life or what I decided after that experience in terms of there was a moment where I was sort of frustrated with the experience because I knew that this was life changing to a lot of people, but it wasn't really a thing for me. Like it was cool, but it was more like just another day of just having fun with something. Um, and I think for me, and this is why I haven't determined whether the mushroom experience was impactful or what I decided to do from that experience because I was frustrated that this wasn't going to change my life. So it came back to the trying to rely on external things to change you, right? And so I was like, well, if this experience is not going to change my life, I need to change my life, right? I can't rely on this to give me an epiphany. So it's hard to say because, like, maybe the mushrooms gave me that epiphany, right? Or maybe because it felt like it didn't give me an epiphany that I was like, fuck it, I'm going to do something for myself. Yeah, so, I'm not trying to BS anyone. And I feel like that's the best way that I've really can explain that situation. Um, but nearing the end of it, I did start to listen to like jogging motivational videos that I got from Masha's playlist, and it made me want to go jogging right then and there. But I knew like I can't just go jogging when I'm on mushrooms. And so when I got back from LA, I decided to make that 20-day plan of jogging. So yeah, I really don't know how that experience really went, but I just knew that it was life changing in a way, even though I don't know the root cause of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if you actually need to know the direct answer for it to be life changing. That maybe you wanted it to be life changing and you wanted to have that epiphany and you're frustrated that you didn't get it, yet you had an epiphany and a life changing experience following that experience. So, who knows what it is, but, you changed and you developed a routine and a habit that is super inspiring. And yeah, I love it. But I'm curious, if you're going to pick a internal power for yourself, what would you choose?
I would say, at least this year, the thing that has come up a lot is decision making. Um, and I guess going back to the mushroom experience, I do credit, I guess, the experience to the psilocybin, but I want to also give myself a lot of credit for taking that spark and deciding to do something with it and deciding to build the momentum and continue that, right? Because it's, a lot of times we have ideas, we have inspirations, and it could be from novelty. It could be, we're bored with our old careers and we have this new idea and we're like, oh, I'm so inspired to go through with that, right? But how often do we just start something and not go through with it? And that's this. the huge thing about decision making, and it's really hard to explain how it works, but for me, sometimes you just know that I'm actually really serious about this. And it doesn't work for me to plan out everything because the more I plan, the more I'm going to have self doubt, the more I feel like it's not going to work out. And so, what works for me is to just jump head on into it, right? When I've made a decision, I have to do something right away, or else I'll convince myself not to. Even with the podcast. One day I was like, I really love having conversations with people. Why not just record it? I think that would be cool and I can experiment with it, right? So within that first hour, I messaged 3 people and they all said yes, thankfully. And then I recorded all the interviews within that week. Um, but had I sat on the idea and thought, like, okay, should I talk to this person or that person? And over analyzing, it just doesn't take me to a productive place. So definitely being able to make a decision and act on it right away would be the biggest change for me this year.
Mm. Yeah, I love that. And I mean, when we were going through, that course together, that was a very impactful time for me as well. Of Proctor talking about indecision, and that's what defeats people from actually achieving anything. That you actually have to, when you decide something and there is no other option, that makes sense. It's just like, oh, there is no other option. I have to move forward in this and take action then. And so I just love that so much. And just when you talk about experience, I mean, you live life, Mike. Like you live life, and it's being fully alive is to jump into experiences and embody the experiences without the doubt or the preparation. And maybe there is doubt, maybe there is fear, maybe there is, I'm not too sure if I can do this, but like none of that actually matters at the end of the day, because when you just start doing things, all of a sudden you're getting stretched, and then all of a sudden that it starts molding into a evolved being of a different version of yourself. So it's really admiring, and like I said, you're very inspiring in so many different ways. um, I'm also curious in shifting directions and in the community. You've already talked a little bit about how our community has made a difference in your life this year, as it's made a huge difference in mine. Um, what is really the importance of community, would you say, in your viewpoint?
Hmm. I would say, as humans, we're made to adapt, right? You put in a certain environment around certain people, whether you like it or not, you're going to adapt to how they are, their behaviors, their morals and ethics, um, their habits. And after having been in, you know, environments that weren't suitable for me in terms of where I wanted to be, whether it's the casino environment or whether afterwards with the people I chose to surround myself with. I could feel myself changing into this other person that I didn't like, right? And so that's what's so important about the people you surround yourself with is being very selective of who they are and determining that, yeah, they do have the characteristics or traits that I would want to embody, right? And that's the important thing with our group is we're all very different, and I've learned different things from everybody, right? And you guys are also constantly developing and learning and growing, and that's what I want to do. And so with me, and like I've said before, I love adapting and learning how to adapt, right? um, you guys have made it a lot easier for me to go on the journey that I want to go on and becoming the person I want to become, because I just naturally um, take your guys' traits, with matcha, with working out, and I feel like I'm the most fit I've ever been. And I would credit her for a lot of the jogging stuff. Um, with Abraham, with entrepreneurship and creativity, with you and leadership and everybody. It's so important to be selective of who you are around because of that.
Mm. Yeah, I love that. And yeah, I love every single person in that group because it is so diverse. And, but yet the like-mindedness is our goal is to grow, our goal is to connect, our goal is to be better versions of ourselves. And that means we have to be vulnerable at times. And we have that support system. And also, um, I've gotten permission to dream really big. Um,
Mm.
People that also dream really big. And in that, uh, has really shifted my whole perspective of actually starting a podcast, starting my own business, and really pursuing it. And that I'm not crazy, that I want more out of my life. And so uh, I'm grateful for that.
Well, and even if you are crazy, it's okay, right? And that's the thing that's so important that you mentioned is permission to be yourself. And I feel like with our group, there is nothing super weird or crazy. We dream what we want to dream, we think what we want to think, and we're not going to put each other down for it. And in fact, we support each other because we don't have this limited mindset, and we really do root for each other. And so that's what I love about it.
Mm.
And not just that, we do have fun. It's not just like personal development, study, study, study. We joke around, we play pranks on each other, and it's really fun.
Yeah, absolutely. We laugh a lot, and it is so much fun. And there wouldn't probably be a relationship if we weren't able to joke around and play around and laugh a lot. Because that's the important part of life is fun and enjoyment. And but we find the fun and enjoyment in everything that we're doing. So that's something really special. And so I do have one more question for you. There are a lot of individuals right now, specifically right now in time, that are having a difficult time. They feel stuck. They're on the verge of giving up. They feel like life is just not working out for them right now. What kind of encouragement or advice do you have for them to begin to get out of that stuck space?
Yeah, really good question. I actually learned this from my own podcast, the last interview with Linda. Even though I knew the information, it didn't really hit me the same until she kind of um, helped me understand that nothing is permanent, first of all, and that it's okay to allow yourself to mope, right? As long as you set a time limit on it. Very recently, just this week, I was thinking about a lot of things that led me down a path of like self doubt and wanting to, go a different direction that I knew would be an easier path, but not what I wanted, right? So everybody's going to have those moments, you know. Nothing lasts forever, whether it's good or bad. So just remembering that nothing is permanent. Whatever you're feeling right now is probably not going to stay around. And also not feeling guilty about feeling shitty about stuff sometimes. Um, it is a really tough time. It's a weird time. And being able to adapt to that takes a lot. So, I allowed myself to kind of mope around for a little bit and complain to my friend. But then I also set a time limit to myself for myself that day. Like uh, after this day, like I'm just going to reset and get going again. And the huge thing for me, and I feel like this is how it started, was because after I ran the marathon, I couldn't go jogging for a couple of days. And jogging or walking has always been my reset for the day. Um, and because of that, I didn't have that for myself. And so when I was able to get back into jogging again, um, I was able to kind of go back to normal where I was inspired again. So, besides allowing yourself to have that space to feel whatever you're feeling, not feeling guilty about it, not being down on yourself about it, and giving yourself an expiration date where you decide, okay, that's it. I'm not going to mope around and feel sorry for myself having a pity party. But then also, exercise is extremely important, and mood follows action, right? When you get yourself to do something, inevitably you'll start to feel different. So it's really as easy as that. Go on a walk.
Thank you for that answer. That is so valuable. Just to expand that a little bit more, it's, you know, we go through phases in life, and this too shall pass. So this phase is temporary, no matter how valid, how real, how heavy it is. But it sounds like giving yourself permission to feel that for a little bit, to just mope around, feel sorry for yourself if you need to, but not letting it to define you for too long. Putting a set point, and then from there, taking action in something. Make momentum, take those first steps, go outside, go for a walk. And I think that that is immensely valuable for anybody that wants to get unstuck, is just having that awareness. And I know I said that was my last question, but I'm going to actually do one more question. If there was one life lesson that you have gained that you would want to leave behind to your friends and family, what would that one life lesson be that you've learned on your time on earth so far?
I mean, this is something we hear about over and over again, but it is just so true, is you're never gonna feel ready. And it's good to get an idea of what's to come and plan things out, but oftentimes a lot of us will get stuck in that because it feels like you're making progress when you plan things out in your head, right? But then when it comes to actually taking action on it, that's the hard part. So just realize you're never going to feel ready and be okay with producing shit when you are, whether you're like releasing a podcast or, doing some kind of work. The beginning is always going to suck and just accept that. Me being on video was really terrifying. Like I would say 2 years ago, I began to practice talking on video, and it was so cringy. And it took me an hour, probably an hour and a half, to film 3 minutes of me introducing myself. Like, hey, I do this and that, right? And I can't get myself to watch it because it's so bad. But I accepted that it was going to be bad. That's fine. Inevitably, it'll get better, right? So don't tell yourself that you have to get ready. Don't tell yourself that you need this equipment or that equipment. Like, it really is so important to just act on it. And I would say, like, there is a lot of fun in not knowing what's to come, you know, and accepting that and being okay with learning how to adapt to things that come.
Mm, yeah, I love that. I couldn't agree with you more, Mai. Thank you so much. So much love for you, and just I appreciate our friendship so much and the value that you just given to everyone for this podcast. And if people wanted to reach out to you to connect with you specifically, or even the intro videos, the promo videos that are all surrounded by Heroes Academy was created by you. So if they want to do promo videos or website design, how are they going to find you and reach out to you?
Um, Honestly, I'm not really like super into promoting myself. It's You can reach me at limelightdigital.com, but leave a comment in the YouTube video, or I don't know, go to my channel, MAIWINN, my win. But yeah, I really feel like whatever work I do, the right people will come to me. So I really do appreciate you giving me this plug. But I want to also really give you a shout out for everything that you're doing, because it's so important to realize how you show up for the group. And I would say, like, you are one of the core people, one of the leaders that has shown up in a way where it's really admirable, that you have a lot of integrity, not just with yourself, but for others as well. And I really admire that about you, your consistency, you know, you being able to be flexible in your ideas and thoughts, where you really are, you back your beliefs, and you are really, like, what you believe, but you're also very open to everybody else's idea. And I really love that about you. And you do it in such a respectful way. And one of the biggest things for me that I value in a person is how you treat other people. And you've really shown that to be true. Like, and that's why I really, really admire you as well. Um, just thought you really need to know that.
Mm. Well, I super appreciate that. Wasn't expecting that, and it just definitely touches my heart. And it's definitely one of my values of, um, you know, knowing my beliefs, but being open to everybody else's and how I treat people. And so super grateful for that. Like I said, so much love for you. And I know that you're super modest and humble, but seriously, people reach out to her. And if you are a business owner and you're looking to promote your business, video, we're in 2021 almost. Video is a huge way to do that and expand your business and your market. And please follow her YouTube channel because she has amazing inspirational videos on there already, but her podcast, she's only released one really episode, but it's going to be fucking amazing. I'm just letting you know that right now. But I love you guys. If you haven't subscribed already, please do let us know, engage in the comments what you're working on, what challenges you're going through, and what you would like us to talk about and how we can serve you better as well. So until next time, align with your inner hero.